to save our state and defeat Kathy Hogan. And that is why we are here today in support of Lee Zeldin. Westchester will always be proud of our favorite son. I have no doubt that Rob will continue to be a strong and needed voice in our party and state. I also have no doubt that the primary and the candidates of not only Rob, but fellow Westchester resident Harry Wilson and Andrew Giuliani have not only made our party stronger, but the grassroots support built up over the past year has our entire statewide GOP slate positioned to win in November and save our state. Rob and I are committed to ensuring victory for Lee Zeldin and our entire ticket. Make no mistake, the Westchester GOP and Team Astorino will be out in full force over the next 3 months. We have also said that the road to the governor's office runs right through Westchester and the Hudson Valley, so we will need all of your help over the next coming months to get out the vote for Lee Zeldin just as strongly as you've done for Rob and all of our candidates in the past. It is now my honor to introduce our former county executive, Rob Astorino, who will then be introducing our Republican nominee for governor, Congressman Lee Zeldin, and our nominee for Lieutenant Governor,
Thank you very much. Before I start, I do want to pause and please ask everybody to say a prayer for our former New York State Conservative Party Chairman, Mike Long, who passed away today. Mike, if any one of you ever met him, was a true gentleman. I mean, he embodied what everybody should be in politics with his honor and integrity, and he was just truly one of the nicest men I ever met. So I want to thank Mike Long for everything he did for the Conservative Party, for the Republican Party, for all of our candidates, and for New York. So if you would, just please keep him in your prayers. Thank you. So, you ready? So my mom and dad told me all the time, work hard, keep working hard, and you can be an Olympian. And I am proud of the bronze medal that we won. But you know who I want to support? The guy who's going to get the gold medal. And we're all here today, and I appreciate you for everything you did for me, everything you've done for the Republican Party here in Westchester County, everything that you've done for the candidates who are sitting in this room working in 95-degree heat to make sure that they win in November. And we have such an amazing opportunity this year. It is insane in New York. It is dangerous in New York. It is unaffordable. It is crazy in New York. And we've got an unelected governor right now who raised $38 million in 11 months. To put that in perspective, Cuomo ran and raised $40 million in 4 years. And he was corrupt. Can you imagine how corrupt she must be? $38 million in 11 months, that bill is coming due, and we're all going to end up paying that at some point, if she gets reelected. But that if is a big if, because we have a chance of a lifetime right now, for the first time in a generation here in New York, to make the biggest change necessary, to show America that the lunatics are not going to run the asylum, that the lunatics are no longer going to control our lives and put us in danger every time we go outside. Yeah. I love Florida too, but this 95-degree weather is Florida every day. And as much as I love Florida, I'd like to go there for a week or two in the winter, but here in New York is my home. And here in New York, your home. So, in order to stay in our home, we need to put really good people in office. And we have a chance this year to put a really good person in office. You know, people would say, well, you guys fought it out in the primary. Yeah, but that's what we do. And I kept saying from day one, no matter who won the primary, we were going to rally behind whoever won. And the primary was sort of like spring training in baseball. Everyone wants that starting position. But once the lineup is set and the introductions are made for opening day, everybody is on the same team. And now we're all on the same team. So those Astorino lawn signs, I hope, first of all, that they're still not on your lawn. But if they are, please grab a Lee Zeldin lawn sign and put it there. If that bumper sticker with my name is on it, please put the Zeldin bumper sticker over it. Because now it's time where we're unified. And if we speak with one voice as a party and row the boat in one direction, we're going to have the biggest red wave this state has ever seen. So let's make that happen. And I am really proud to introduce somebody I've known a long time. Lee and I have been friends for quite a while. And we spoke on primary night when I called him and congratulated him. And he said to me, you know what? It's time for the four of us to go to a Mets game again. He's a Mets fan, that's the only problem he's got. But we've done things together. We work together as colleagues. We have been friends. We are friends. And I want to see my friend become the 58th governor of the state of New York. So with your help, we will do that. So let the race run through Westchester and the Hudson Valley as we said it would. And let us shock the nation on November 8th and have Lee Zeldin elected as our governor of New York State to put this state back on track. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is great to see the Zeldin bus here in New York and Westchester. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our next governor, Lee Zeldin.
Big round of applause for Rob Astorino. Rob and I have known each other for a long time, and there's a long history there of being with our spouses at music concerts and sports games, and there's a tremendous amount of respect that I have for Rob. When you're going through a primary, your competitors, you don't travel around. I was just sharing a story about Andrew Giuliani. We were together a couple of days ago, and I shared a story that when we were in DC, I had my wife with me. My wife would always be excited when she'd find out that there was a reason to go to an event because it meant that she would be able to buy a new outfit for the event. I would be really excited about being able to tell her that we have an event to go to, and then I would instantly always regret it because she would enthusiastically go out and get something that maybe, she would tell me this was originally priced as $27,000, but I got it for just, $300. All right. Well, we were in one of those situations, and it was pouring rain in Washington, D.C. And we get out of the vehicle, and Andrew Giuliani was working at the White House at the time, and he had an umbrella, and this was the start of the day. And he insisted on giving my wife the umbrella so that her outfit to get from the vehicle to inside the White House wouldn't get ruined. And I was asking Andrew, what's going to happen to your outfit? This is the start of the day. You might get called into a meeting and your suit is soaking wet. He insisted. We asked him multiple times, and sure enough, by the way, his suit was drenched at the start of this day. Now, as you're traveling around in a spirited primary, it's not my job to go around and tell every single audience all about, all of the best traits. That's not, Rob and I travel around the state saying, no, this is what's the best about Rob, and Rob said, this is what's the best about Lee. We were in a competitive race, but there's a lot of history, mutual respect. Rob was very articulately on the campaign trail, focusing on the issues that matter most to New Yorkers. And he was talking about freedom during restrictive COVID mandates that were resulting in our 2-year-olds in masks, our healthcare workers being fired for what it should be a personal decision of whether or not to get the COVID shot, and every single one of those people who lost their jobs, in my opinion, and as Rob was articulating so well, should get their jobs back with back pay.
Yeah. He was out there on the trail, you know, iron sharpening iron, keeping us sharp and on our toes and on our game, as he was discussing the need to make sure that our streets are safer, that we are living life in New York freer, that we are ensuring that the opportunity is allowing our families to stay here in our state. He was doing it very well. He was making that strong connection with voters, not just over social media, but media interviews as well. And it was very impressive. He was at the tip of the spear on the fight really on your behalf, first and foremost, of all the flights that were coming into Westchester and still coming in. And I would say that not only in Westchester, not only in our state, but across our country, that there wouldn't be anywhere near as much awareness of this very real issue. And quite frankly, we shouldn't even have to be talking about the need to shut down this travel agency that is flying people into Westchester Airport. This stuff should be shut down at the border. We have to, in my opinion, we should finish construction of the border wall. We should end catch and release. We should enforce the Remain in Mexico policy. We should support our Customs and Border Patrol agents. We should not be incentivizing and rewarding illegal entry into our country. And it all requires leadership in the White House and at our border. And right now, that's not what we have. But I think that we have advanced the ball on this issue and on this fight because of Rob's advocacy throughout this very spirited campaign. So thank you for that as well, Rob. And he really did a great job getting out to vote in Westchester. Good job to all of you involved in Rob's campaign during this effort. I'm very grateful for everyone who has supported us inside of Westchester and around the state. This is a campaign that started a really long time ago for us. We were on the trail in the spring of 2021. And we were running against the last governor. And who would have thought just how much worse this new governor would be than the last governor? Andrew Cuomo 2.0 is a lot worse than the original. Now we're nearing the end of this multiple day tour, unity tour to fire Kathy Hochul across the state. You might have read a little bit about our first stop in Monroe County. And you know, I'm very grateful for the 7, 8, 9, 10 people who all instinctively, right away, got on the stage, tackled, and subdued the person who had attacked me. And the law enforcement from the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, they were there within minutes. And what I and others were predicting out of the gate, which is a very sad reality as far as the state of the law right now in New York, is that because of cashless bail in this state, the person who had attacked me within hours was immediately released back out on the streets. We have to repeal cashless bail. Yesterday, the FBI arrested that attacker, and he's now facing more serious federal charges, and he's currently in custody. And
last few stops, Allison was talking about how I was able to stop the attacker long enough for help to arrive, but what Allison doesn't mention was that she was the help. Allison was quick to it, and she was part of that group right on top of it to make sure that attacker was tackled. And Allison left, she had to retire from a career in the NYPD that was just over halfway done. See, her father was an NYPD chief, and Allison wanted to not just be a chief, she wanted to pass her father in rank. And Allison had to retire, not to be our state's next lieutenant governor. Allison had to retire to be our candidate, to be our state's next lieutenant governor. And she was the commanding officer of the 70th Precinct in a job that she absolutely loved, and she had to leave it, she had to retire, and she did it for all of us to be not our next lieutenant governor, she did it just to be our candidate to be our next lieutenant governor, and she will be a great lieutenant governor. You're looking at a number of candidates running for state legislature, they're running for United States Congress, and we have an opportunity right here in Westchester to make sure that we are ending the supermajority that exists inside of the state legislature, and while we are at it, we are also going to flip control of the United States House of Representatives. Now, Rob has some loyal friends and supporters up here. They got you respect the history. I've known, Mike spoke at my campaign kickoff event for Congress. I should have, leveraged the invite. Be like, hey, by the way, but Mike said right out of the gate, I hope you understand, how close he was with Rob for so long. And I'll tell you, my focus from this point forward as it relates to that congressional district that Mike Lawler is running for is to make sure that we are doing everything that we can to flip that seat from blue to red. We have some candidates here for the state legislature as well. And we have to make sure that whether they are currently representing you, whether they are running to represent you in higher office, that whether it's Matt, it's Kevin, it's anybody else who's in the House, who's running, we have to break the supermajority. Now, this has been a topic on the campaign trail. It's a lot easier to be a Republican governor in the state when you have at least broken the supermajority in the Assembly and Senate. And Westchester has to and will be able to get that done because, as you all know, inside of Westchester County, there are a lot of independents who are upset at the state of Westchester County, our state and our country. There are a lot of disenfranchised Democrats who are not happy with the direction of the county, the state, and the country. A lot of them say that they've always voted Democrat their entire life. But you know what? They've had enough. We have one-party rule at every level of government. And look at the state, from our border to foreign policy to inflation and supply chain crisis. A lack of competency right now, certainly a lack of common sense and balance in Washington, D.C. I say that we all should just prepare to set our calendars to do something that we don't normally do. At the beginning of January, let's all be watching C-SPAN when the gavels in the House of Representatives permanently get handed over from Speaker Nancy Pelosi. No more of Chair Maxine Waters. No more of Chair Adam Schiff and Jerry Nadler. Things have been a little different last few years. People asked me when I came off of this stage, there was a conversation going, are you going to go back on the stage? Of course we're going to get back on the stage. People are asking, well, are you still going to be doing your rallies tomorrow? Yeah, of course we're going to be doing our rallies tomorrow. The schedule's not going to change. Security changed a little bit. So, some folks are going to be a little more jumpy for a bit because, it's a little different these days. And this isn't new. I mean, I was in Congress when Steve Scalise was shot. I served on the Financial Services Committee where the chair of that committee did something very irresponsible. The chair is Maxine Waters, and she called on her followers and others across the country to confront Trump administration officials in restaurants and in movie theaters. We saw it recently with Supreme Court justices being intimidated, harassed at their homes. We settle our scores at the ballot box and not through political violence. Kathy Hochul's been blasting out my schedule, where I'm going to be, date, time, location, injecting some rhetoric to try to fire folks up. Now, we have a responsibility. My message to anybody who plans on voting for me, who's a volunteer, who's a supporter, is that we approach this campaign where we bring our ideas and our energy. We debate. We might disagree with political opponents, but at the end of the day, this score will be settled with a win at the ballot box on Tuesday, November 8th. First order of business. Rob and I were talking about this a lot on the trail. First order of business. Get sworn in. It's not just a constitutional authority, it's a constitutional duty of the governor of the state of New York. We do not have recall elections in the state of New York. The governor thinks that what I'm about to tell you has nothing at all to do with her. She's going to let other people deal with a district attorney who refuses to enforce the law. She gets asked about Alvin Bragg and she says, cut him some slack, he just got there, he's doing his job. She gets asked about Alvin Bragg in the Jose Alba case, and she says, it's a local decision, I'm not getting involved. No, you know what? It's absolutely something that 19 million New Yorkers desperately rely on her to do, not just what is her authority, but her constitutional duty. The first thing that I will be doing after sworn into office is notifying the Manhattan District Attorney, Alvin Bragg, that he's fired. Should do that today. The second thing that we're going to do on the first day that we're in office, all COVID mandates end. We've reached a point in COVID where you have information, you have access to resources. If you choose that you want to wear an N95 mask, you can wear an N95 mask. If you want to get the COVID vaccine, you get the COVID vaccine. Government should be providing truthful, honest information to you, helping with access to resources and information, and then you can make your own individual decision. The third thing that we're going to do on the first day is twofold. One is to complete what is an administrative investigation that Kathy Hochul is dragging her feet because she doesn't want the facts to come out before the Tuesday, November 8th election, is that we are going to complete a full review of the state's response on COVID. Kathy Hochul she just made the announcement herself. She actually said there will be no findings released prior to the elections. It's going to be 6 months after the start of the investigation. The second part of this, and this is also within the authority of the governor of the state of New York, we have to appoint a special prosecutor for any crimes that were committed with regards to the deadly nursing home order and cover-up. We're going to have a busy first day. There's a lot more to do. You start talking parental rights, there's a lot of opportunity on day one to make a difference. Working with the legislature, there's a lot that needs to get done. And right at the top of the list is the need to repeal cashless bail. And this governor was asked earlier this year whether or not she would support a major overhaul of cashless bail. And the governor said that there isn't data to support it. Now we offer that if you need data, then why don't you count up all the press clippings that are sitting there on your desk, and whatever that number is of all the press clippings, call that data to absolutely support the repeal of cashless bail. You know what happened in Monroe County. There was a story a couple weeks ago where 2 Mexican cartel drug smugglers were busted with $1.2 million worth of crystal meth. And they were immediately released back out on the streets due to cashless bail. The argument that gets made in favor of cashless bail is that they say that if you're busted with a low-level offense, you're not a flight risk, you're not a danger, you have a clean record, that you should not have to remain behind bars solely because you can't afford the smallest amount of bail. Okay, you're being rational. Now we're all having a conversation. The problem is that's not what they passed. And there was someone released on cashless bail for arson, rearrested for a double manslaughter in Yonkers. There was a person arrested on cashless bail who then got rearrested after murdering 93-year-old Connie Torrey of Syracuse. There are many different stories, real-life stories, that she can call data points, but what's really interesting is just a few weeks ago, after the United States Supreme Court made the correct decision to overturn New York's unconstitutional concealed carry law, this governor immediately brings everybody back up to Albany. And Kevin, when you woke up that Friday morning, you had no idea what it is. Michael, you had no idea what you were going to vote on that day. By that afternoon, they were signing off, Governor Hochul was signing off on a new law. When they woke up that morning, there wasn't even a bill. And this was actually more unconstitutional than what the Supreme Court had overturned a week earlier. And it wasn't just unconstitutional, trampling all over Second Amendment rights. It's a law that tramples all over First Amendment rights in order to trample all over Second Amendment rights. Kathy Hochul was asked, well, what data do you have to support going after concealed carry permit holders? Her answer was, she doesn't need data. Cashless bail, she can't support a major overhaul of cashless bail because she says there's no data, even though there is. And then when asked about this new effort to target law-abiding concealed carry permit holders, she asked what kind of data. She says she doesn't need it because the data doesn't support it. And what she did was unconstitutional. She lost power and control. Last example I'll give you is this. And I'll tell you that the best thing we could do to have a government that you can feel proud of again doesn't even require an executive order. It doesn't even require a bill. Just bringing honor back to the office where you can elect a governor and lieutenant governor November of 2022. It's going to sound like a crazy concept what I'm about to tell you. Trust me, other states do it. We should try to do it here. In other states, they elect people to a 4-year term. And there aren't arrests, resignations, indictments. Sounds pretty crazy, right? So I propose that New York elects a new governor and lieutenant governor this November, and 4 years later, they're still there. This governor, every month, extends her own COVID emergency powers, unilaterally, without permission from the state legislature. She does it self-claimed, with the power that she whereas heretofore grants upon herself. Now with it, it's not just signing off on some document. There was a story reported in the Albany Times-Union earlier this week where Kathy Hochul received hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of donations. And she awarded many hundreds of millions of dollars to them in a no-bid contract. Now you might be asking yourself, how is that possible? Because there are competitive bidding laws that are on the books. Not suggestions, there are competitive bidding laws that are on the books. Well, by signing off on her COVID emergency powers, she is getting around the law and giving no-bid contracts for hundreds of millions of dollars to her biggest campaign supporters. Kathy Hochul lost more power and control. I say, if you want to get the COVID vaccine, get it. If you want to get the shot, get the shot. If you don't want to get the shot, don't get the shot, but it's your position. Kathy Hochul says that you should get it to be her apostle. That's why you should get it, to be her apostle. And by the way, for many workers who didn't get it, they ended up losing their jobs because of it. Public service is about serving the public. Public service isn't about being served by the public. We don't want to be ruled by someone who thinks that we want an emperor or governor in charge of our lives. We don't want a government that takes away freedom. Government's responsibility, if they're doing anything with freedom, it's giving freedom back. And when money comes back, this government that we have right now expects a thank you. They actually put it in writing just before, must be totally coincidence, just before the Democratic primary. People received a property tax check with a note that this was courtesy of Kathy Hochul. They put their hands into your pockets and then give you your money back and then insist that you thank them for giving the money back. We lead the entire country in population loss. So many New Yorkers are hitting a breaking point. Every day, wherever I go, people say, if you don't win, I'm leaving this state. We have people in our own families who have left already. You all might be thinking yourself about your own breaking point in this state. You know that we're battling right now for the heart and soul of our country and our state. You realize that we have to restore balance and common sense. Once again, in our state capital, you know the stakes. You come here with a clear sense of purpose. You know what you have to do. You did it. All of you who are backing during a spirited primary, Rob, the numbers showed in Westchester. You did a really good job turning out the vote. And Doug Holty, you're the Westchester County Republican Committee Chair. I mean, with the petition, the amount of petitions out of Westchester, the amount of votes on June 28th, you all know how to turn out the vote. I want to say thank you, by the way, to Jimmy Nolan. Jimmy he was great. He's a friend. He's a hard worker. He won a race that a lot of people didn't think that he'd be able to win. The best advice for candidates: when you're running for these local offices, go knock on doors. If you're trying to win a county legislative race, a state assembly race, a state senate race, the best possible advice I could give you is to yourself hit as many doors as you can. When I first ran for state senate, I knocked on over 12,000 doors. You can win races that people say you can't win if you're willing to put the effort into it. And Jimmy did that in this county legislative race, and I thank him for all of his long support. Thank you. I thank them as well. We're here as part of a unity tour because we're focused on one thing and one thing only. That's being together as one to accomplish the goal of firing Kathy Hochul, ending one-party rule, and saving our state. That's why we're here, and that's what we need to get done on Tuesday, November 8th. One unified party and purpose. And that unified purpose welcomes independents, and it welcomes disenfranchised Democrats. We're going to expand our tent between now and Tuesday, November 8th, and it will carry forward because I believe that we are going to have an awesome local election when we get to 2023, and we'll focus on winning a whole bunch more right here in Westchester, where seats will go from Democrats to Republicans. I'm going to introduce my running mate, and our state's next lieutenant governor, who is the help that she was talking about when I grabbed the wrist of the person who came at me. I should thank my mother. I have a military, one of my former officers in the military, he was a little upset at me that I wasn't crediting him and my military training for the maneuver. It was actually when I was younger, taking karate lessons. And I actually mentioned it at the debate. One of the questions we got asked was, tell us something that people don't know about you. And I mentioned I was a black belt. I once won the world championships in sparring. I'm sure the other three said, that's probably not true, but that sounds really good. I should have said that. No, it actually happened. And actually, one of the things that we would do in our lessons was the same move. You know, if somebody's lunging at you with a knife, now some people think I need to grab control, I need to go grab the knife. It's not about trying to get your hand as close as possible to the knife, because the closer you get, the more dangerous it is for you. But if you can gain control of their wrist, you actually have control of the knife. Especially when Allison Esposito is only a second away. We were at an event a couple stops ago. It's really hot outside, by the way, so Doug Galty contacted me and he said that it would be a really good idea if we did in Westchester Manor. There was no conversation whatsoever about how hot it might be or whether or not we should be in shade and AC. But morale is high for the fact that we're all together inside of Westchester Manor as opposed to outside. Well, we had an event that was outside. And there was a woman who passed out, and she was right in front of me, and she fell towards me. Michael was there, and her head was about to hit the pavement, and her head just fell into my hand. I put my hand out there, so her head didn't hit the pavement. And we got to our next stop in Orange County. So I was in Dutchess. We got to Orange County, and once again, Allison was talking about how I was quick with my response until help got there. I appreciate her saying that, but once again, the help was Allison Esposito. And Allison took charge of the situation. Her heart is as a cop. She believes in service. She wants to back the blue and everything that we need to do unapologetically. Understand, she's been on the streets. Her passion, her experience, her hard work, her knowledge, she brings everything that you need to the table to get this done. And whether it's tonight, I see some of Chloe's son in the group is here, Lester Chang for State Senate in Queens. Chloe, do you have any other candidates who made the trip? We do? Just Lester, yeah. So we have a growing number of supporters from the Asian American community. Yeah! And they're experiencing members of their own community being killed by being pushed in front of an oncoming subway car, stabbed to death in their apartment in Lower Manhattan, beaten to death with a hammer on the streets. The anti-Asian, violent, raw hate that we see in New York City needs to be stopped. The Jews who are being attacked multiple times in a particular week. We're seeing it happen a lot in Brooklyn. I'm hearing it from Sikh cab drivers. We're going to make sure that between now and Tuesday, November 8th, the word gets out that you don't always have to vote Democrat with the pro-criminal policies that they're advancing in Albany, the more pro-criminal policies that they want to get done with continued power. If Kathy Hochul has 4 more years, and you have supermajorities in the state legislature, we'll experience rock bottom. This isn't even rock bottom yet. It can get worse. And there's no one better to be by my side, by our side, as my running mate and our state's next lieutenant governor, an NYPD vet who was on a trajectory like this to be a chief herself, and someone who will bring the fight, the knowledge, the experience, and the passion to do an awesome job. Please welcome your next lieutenant governor, Allison Esposito.
everything into this. And we said it along the way that whatever the voters choose, whatever the outcome is, that we would stand together as a united party. But imagine that, when you put your everything into something, your heart and soul, and everything is left on the field. To come to the end of the primary, it doesn't work out for you. But because the word is patriotic, because you're so patriotic, and that you believe in the message in saving the people of New York State, that you are willing to join together for the good of not yourself, not your campaign, but for the good of the people of New York State. So thank you so much. It means the world, ladies and gentlemen, that now the Republican Party is a united party, with the backing of our candidates like Mr. Astorino, Mr. Giuliani, backing and all supporting and going forward. So now, you know what's been going on in the last couple of days. And ladies and gentlemen, we got them scared. We got them scared. You have Kathy Hochul putting out our campaign stops. We have had a box truck with Lee's face on it following us around. We have trackers in the audience. We have trackers at our campaign events. She's afraid. And rightfully so. Rightfully so. The other night, while he was standing on stage, you know Congressman Zeldin was attacked. And within 6 hours, the man was let out on Castro Square. What does that say to the everyday New Yorker walking around the city streets that doesn't want to get pushed in front of a subway train, that doesn't want to be attacked by a violent felon who's let out for the third time? When a sitting congressman can nothing short of an assassination attempt on his life, and the individual is let out. We are living in an upside-down society where we're being told everything is good is bad, and everything is bad is good. Now, a little bit about me. I am not a politician. I'm a cop. And I have been a cop for almost 25 years. I joined the New York City Police Department following my father's footsteps because, as a child, it was instilled very early on a core belief that those who cannot protect themselves deserve to be protected. And government's #1 job is to protect its people. And this government is failing. And it's unacceptable. It's failing. So I never would have walked away from the men and women that I served with. So blessed by working with the NYPD, some of the most passionate, able-bodied, amazing individuals. But I saw society turn upside down. I saw children as young as 1 in their strollers at family barbecues shot and killed by a stray gang bullet, fired by a gang member that had multiple arrests for possession of illegal firearms and shootings, and should not have been out on that street, and that child should be alive. I saw my cops going out and pulling loaded illegal firearms off of waistbands of individuals that had been arrested 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And these individuals were back in my precinct, released to collect their property before my cops were done processing the arrest. It's true. I saw my cops go out every day with a fear in their eyes. And those of you who know law enforcement know when we raise our right hands, we understand and accept the possibility that we don't make it home to our families. This was a different fear. This fear was of losing their job and potentially their freedom for doing the job that we ask them to do, that society needs them to do. And I looked at the seat that I was sitting in and the hat that I was wearing, and I realized I'm sitting in the wrong seat and I'm wearing the wrong hat to affect the type of change that New York State so desperately needs. responsibility, protecting their people. And when you shackle the hands of law enforcement, and you have a criminal justice system that apologizes for itself by releasing violent individuals, they are failing at their job. And then you have people like Mr. Jose Alba in New York City that went to work. That was his crime. He went to work to provide for his family. A tragic end of events that was not set in motion by Mr. Alba, but by the criminal Simon himself. Ladies and gentlemen, we must begin to hold criminals accountable for their actions. Mr. Alba that went to work, and this tragic course of events set in motion, where Simon comes behind the counter and throws him into a wall. Not knowing if he was going to live or die, he lashes out and he stabs Simon. Then he himself is stabbed by the individual that started the whole thing, Simon's girlfriend. And the government that fails to protect its people, that shackles law enforcement, then wants to arrest Alba for murder. Ladies and gentlemen, if the government fails to protect us, we have the right to self-defense. It's time to take it back. Under this ticket, ladies and gentlemen, we will unapologetically back the bullet. We will fire and hold accountable reckless and dangerous district attorneys like Alvin Bragg who refuse to uphold their oath of office and fail to prosecute crimes. It's amazing. It's amazing that that even has to be said. It comes out of my mouth and I can't believe it. The government is failing to protect us. And there's so much more work we need to do. We also understand that you do not relinquish your right as a parent simply by sending your child to school. In an amazing world, right? We went through one of the worst pandemics in history. And with darkness comes light. Because I believe it shed light on things. And I know that there were mom and dads in the kitchen while Junior was on Zoom calls going, wait, what? What just came out of that computer? It shed light. I have some of the most amazing teacher friends in the world. We grew up together, and then we grew up in our careers together. And I always joke with them, if you fail, I get it. So please, you got to do your job. And these teachers care about their children. They call them their children. They worry about them, almost like parents. But there is curriculum that is being shoved down our children's throat. That is not only hitting one child against another, but it's teaching them to hate the greatest country in the history of the world. It's not only teaching them to hate the country, but the worst is they're teaching them to hate themselves for who they are, what they look like, and where they come from, and it is unacceptable.
Yes!
One side that they are perpetually victims and the other side that they are perpetually guilty. We owe our children better. And it is your choice as a parent. You must be involved. We need you involved. Whether you decide to homeschool, charter school, private school, public school, religious school your child, it is on you, and big government needs to get the heck out of your life. Our heroes, our rescue workers. 7 o'clock at night during the pandemic, everybody's windows open. We banged hands. We yelled hero. We yelled thank you. Everybody was feeling a part of it. Our cops, our firefighters, our doctors, our nurses, our first responders, our teachers. And then when they decided not to get a COVID shot, we thanked them by firing. Unacceptable. They need their jobs back with backpacks. We need to be independent in New York State. We should be safely extracting our natural resources. We should be putting in pride. It's an amazing state. We have the oceans, we have the lakes and the rivers, we have the mountains. It is the most amazing state in the country. I'm going to get in trouble for saying it. People should be banging down our doors. Banging down our doors. We need to take the regulations off of small businesses. We need to stop taxing our middle class out of existence. And we need to be bringing people and prosperity back to this state. Talk for hours about what needs to be done, but you all know that in order for it to get done, we have to stand together. Here is the problem. Over the last couple of days, we've seen a lot of activity in the campaign. Some of it's ridiculous. But if that doesn't underscore the fact
In Westchester County. Ryan told my friend Lee Zeldin we met about a year ago. We had a lot of similarities. Taking a lot of hits. But those hits kept coming. And I have one piece of advice that someone told me that the best type of victory is eventually. Now, the other day, we all see what happened up on stage. Now, I have a question for you. How is it that Jose Alba, an innocent man who was defending himself, spent more time and more money in jail and getting out of jail than Lee Zeldin's attacker? That shows right there that our system is broken. Our criminal justice system is broken, and we're all vulnerable. You know what? That's going to change this year. We're going to elect Lee Zeldin and Allison into the governorship for the year. She wasn't a politician. I was furthest from it, if you ask anybody. But I got tired of seeing how things were, not just in Westchester, but all New York State. I was referred to as nothing but the stupid custodian. I showed them who the stupid one was when I outworked him every step of the way. And that's what Lee Zeldin is doing right now, working. And that's why they're scared. We're going to continue. Because that attack the other day just wasn't on him. It was on our party. It was on us. It was on our freedom. And we need to show them that we are the ones that are their bosses. And that in November, we're going to vote them out. Because they need to go. Last year I ran a race, and I took out one of the biggest liberals of Westchester County. I ripped her out of the seat, and Lee Zeldin's going to do the same in November. Rip her out of the seat. Rip her right out. Because you know what? The time has come. It's our time. They counted us out. They said we weren't going to do it, and look what happened. I upset them. I stood right here. There's a lot of similarities from then and now. We upset them. Difficulties being the bill once again. But it's okay. It all worked, right? Yep. But I asked you to think about your future. Think about what type of world you want to continue to live in here in New York. Because if it continues to go down this route, this state is going to hit rock bottom even more. And I don't think we can go any further. You know what? These Democrats are going to continue to push it. It's time for a change, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm proud to go everywhere possible with Lee Zeldin and Allison. I had Allison come to my event last week, and I can't tell you how proud people were just to meet her. It said, we were speaking to her, you can tell it's there. She has the right intention, Lee has the right intention. We're going to continue to do this. And when Lee Zeldin is elected governor of New York State, I am proud that we're in partnership with him down here in Westchester County. We're going to continue to pick up seats. We're going to continue to work. And I have no problem bringing them around once again. First, when they asked my therapy, but I don't, get in trouble anymore. All right? I'm married now. I just can't wake up in trouble.
so is everyone else.
But I asked you not to just go out and vote for my friend Lee Zeldin. I asked you to think about New York State's attitude to union. Now we have to save it. It's about survival. And I want to leave you with one thing. My niece is 4 years old. For half of her life, she only knows what it is to go to school with a basketball. And that's because of the Democratic Party. It started with Andrew Cuomo, it continued Kathy Hogan, and it's going to end with her.
Thank you, James. Let me just recognize a few of the people that are here with us today. We do have Tom Fix running for New York State Assembly. Carlo Valente from Greenberg running in the Abenaki seat. From White Plains, Gary Lipson, our New York State Assembly, District 33. Lisa Hopper was recognized, running out of Austin, 1895. Brett Yeagle, he was mentioned, 96th Assembly District from Rockland. And District Channing running for Assembly. New York State Assembly, District 49. This time I'd like to call up a state assemblyman who still represents Westchester, has represented Westchester, done a terrific job. My good friend, he's been fighting the fight. He's not running for re-election as assemblyman, but he is running for county executive of Putnam County. He's not in trouble. He's no longer in trouble because he no longer represents Westchester. But I'd like to take this opportunity, Paul. Kevin Burns.
Big round of applause for Chairman Doug Hudson. Now, I got first served this state assembly about 6 years ago. Putnam County has been my home my entire life. I have a lot of family, a lot of roots, actually, to this very property, going back to my mother's side of the family in Westchester County. In fact, I'm going to leave here to go to a cousin's birthday party down in Irvington. And when I ran for the assembly, I said that Hudson County is my home, but I'm going to treat Westchester County as if it's another home, and I won't be a stranger. Well, I'm going to tell you that as Putnam County's next county executive, because yes, I am unopposed and I'm not complaining about it, that I'm still not going to be a stranger for our friends in Westchester County, because I'm not going to forget about all the great work that you have done for me, whether it was donating to our campaigns, help fight the fight up in Albany. It has been tough, it has been brutal. Because over the last several years, without people like Senator Terrence Murphy up there by my side, the challenge has been just monumental. Whether it's eliminating cashless bail, taking away judicial discretion from our judges, taking away parental rights, just trampling on your freedoms, making life more miserable for people in county and local government. It was talked about the legislation that was passed in an extraordinary session in response to the Supreme Court. Well, all those pistol permanent licensure requirements that they forced on us, or trying to, that's also unconstitutional. I got news for you folks. It's going to directly affect how county government does its job. Because they're trying to put more mandates on local government, which will drive up your property taxes and just make life harder for you. But I am so honored that we have great, talented people running for office. I don't think I've ever heard about this number of assembly candidates in Westchester County before, so you can tell there is something in the air, and it's infectious for people like Rob Astorino. You know, I knew him when he was county executive, when I worked for Congresswoman Nan Dearworth, but also when I was in the assembly my first term, he was the county executive. He's been a great leader and mentor for Westchester. But there is something in the air because you have so many great candidates, and I can tell you, even though I'm running in Putnam, I will be running with your candidates, like Gina Arena, who's running for state senate. In the open seat, running for where Sandy Gale is. That's an open seat. And my good friend, my great friend, I've gone back with, we've known each other since we were 14 or 15 years old. The supervisor for Westchester County's second largest town has been making tons of great decisions in local government. He's going to do a tremendous job fighting for us in Westchester and in Putnam County. Matt Zeldin. So with that, I just wanted to say thank you. We are going to have a tremendous fight on our hands. And just because I don't have formal opposition or a challenger, don't think that I will be campaigning, because I will be campaigning nonstop, not just for myself, but for all of our candidates, including Lee Zeldin,
because we need to change our state, we need to believe in our state again, and we need to bring back the Empire State. That is what we sell in the Empire State. Thank you, Jimmy.
All right, we have other dignitaries to introduce. Carmel Councilman, right from Manor. Number here, Westchester, Senate District 37, right? Bertha from Scarlet. Political race. Also, we also have candidates running statewide. Michael Henry, Attorney General. Mr. Rodriguez. And we also have to call up two more speakers. So this time I'd like to call up from Yonkers, running for New York State Assembly, the Minority Leader, Michael Henry.
Thank you, Doug. I corrected Mr. Lawler. He's running against Sean Patrick Maloney. I'm running for assembly in Yonkers, and I know I'm going to win because Jimmy told me I'm going to win. So I'm going to get out and knock on doors and get some friends to knock on doors, and that's what we're going to do. I just want to make one point that Lee's not here. Republicans don't have middle names anymore. But Lee needs a middle name, and his middle name is going to be Vito. Because when we get to Albany, when we get our people in Albany, and it's not a veto-proof assembly or senate, he's going to veto a lot of the stuff that they're going to try and put on the budget in the legislature. Let's talk about electric houses. Do you know about electric houses? The state legislature wants you to have an electric house in the near future. No gas heat, no oil heat, no gas stove, all electric. They want that. They're talking about it. It's got to be vetoed. The state legislature wants to create a zoning tribunal in Albany to override zoning boards like Yonkers and Eastchester and Yorktown and tell us what our zoning should be. That has to be vetoed. I don't want to say this. Comprehensive sex education, K to 12. That's what they want. It has to be vetoed. People in the legislature to get elected to make sure it's veto-proof. And finally, the one that pisses me off the most is gender ID, mandating gender ID. So little Johnny can swim on the girls' team. And Big Jim can play basketball on the girls' team. And Joey can go in the locker room, whichever locker he wants to. This is ridiculous. We have Title IX in the United States of America. The girls are supposed to get ahead in sports. And girls will not get ahead in sports if there's boys on their team. So, again, veto. Leave veto Zeldin, the next governor of the state of New York.
We have a few other introductions to make. We have with us Yonkers GOP Chairman John Locken, President of the Young Republicans Devin O'Rourke, newly elected President of the Women's Republican Club Ashley McCarrick, Scarsdale GOP Chair Linda Killian, Manor GOP Chair Tom Keller. I do have more, but let me introduce one of our other assembly candidates who's been a rising star in the Republican Party as well for years. I've worked with him, and he's been working with me, very close to me. I've done a lot of work with the Republican Party, not only in Yonkers, but also in Westchester. He is our Yorktown Town Supervisor, Matt Slater, running for New York State Assembly.
everybody, and thank you, Chairman Kofi, for your years of service to the Republican Party and your unwavering friendship. It means a lot to me personally. Let's give it up for John Kofi. Real quick, I just want to talk about yearbooks if I can. Because in my house, probably the only house here, we've got 2 yearbooks. One, my yearbook with AOC, when she was on my track team. She's not from the Bronx, I can prove it. The second, my wife's, who's here with us, hi Kelly. With Allison Esposito, your next Lieutenant Governor. Let's give it up for Allison Esposito. Now, if you watched the video of the attack on Lee, which was just horrendous to watch, did anyone see Allison come in? We just say, let's just call her this. What a badass. Holy crap. She beat the hell out of that guy. There they are. Come back in. Perfect timing. It's great to be here with you all. I'm so excited to be running for the New York State Assembly. I do get questions. Matt, why would you want to go run for the New York State Assembly? I think Mike Breen just answered most of those questions, but I know Tony Colavita's here as well and a few other local elected officials. Let me tell you, the assault on the suburbs is real. Did you know they wanted to change election dates for local elections? They wanted to move it to even years. Why would they want to do that? Because they want us to run with the governor or the president because Republicans win too many local elections. We talked about ADUs. Mike talked about ADUs. That's something that Gina Arena, she's running against Pete Harcum, and she's going to beat him. So they want to tell them what we're doing. I'm sorry. As a town supervisor, I'm pretty sure I know a lot more about my town than a state legislator from Queens. No offense to our friends. These are the things that we're seeing. And let's talk about cashless bail for a second. It's because the impacts of cashless bail are now bleeding into the suburbs. Just 3 weeks ago in my town, we had 3 individuals from Brooklyn walk into our oldest pharmacy and rob it. Now here's the thing. They got into their car, they took off, and got into a car accident at the next intersection. If they didn't get into that car accident, by the way, they caused a 5-hour manhunt. I felt like I was in The Fugitive. If they didn't cause that car accident, they would have walked right out the front door. So it's not just the cities, it's not just the urban areas. The suburbs are under attack by this one-party, insane Democratic Party. That's what we need to go fight and defend. That's why I'm vacating my seat as a town supervisor, which is, and again, any of the other local officials can tell you, I love being town supervisor. I really do. It is phenomenal. I grew up in this town, in the town of Yorktown. I'm a product of the town of Yorktown, and I get the honor of leading it. But there's a bigger fight in our hands. A much bigger fight. And it's a fight worth fighting. It's a fight for my kids. It's a fight for your kids. It's a fight for our families. And it's a fight for your families. And with Lee Zeldin, with Allison Esposito, and all these other candidates, we're going to win. And we're going to defend the state. We're going to defend the country. Kevin Byrne, our current assemblyman, next county executive, made the mention. I've done a lot of work here in Westchester County. One of my proudest moments is electing a State Senator Terrence Murphy and being able to serve as his chief of staff. This year reminds me of 2014. And in 2014, we had the most competitive seat and the most competitive race in the state of New York. They told us that we were going to win or lose by 1 or 2 points. You know what happened? We won by 10. That is the same feeling on the ground, knocking doors. I was with Gina yesterday. We were out up in Mayapack, knocking on doors, 95 degrees. I could see the lake, but we couldn't go for a swim. But every door we knocked on, thank God you're running. That's all we hear. Thank God we have real people running. same message we got in 2014 when we won by 10 points. It's exactly what Gina's going to do in her seat, and exactly what our next governor, lieutenant governor, are going to do across the state. Thank you so much for all of your support.
And we're responsible for electing you to the New York State Assembly. A few other people I'd like to introduce. We have our North Salem GOP chair here, Zinga Elena. Hudson GOP chair, Tom Scatterpeachy. And Westchester Town Supervisor as mentioned, Tony Malavita. Thank you. We do have a terrific slate of candidates. Just want to briefly go over it again. So we have 3 New York State Senate candidates here with us today and also running to replace entrenched Democratic operatives and senators. So running in District 35, Chris Kerr from Bloomberg. Frank Murphy from Scarsdale, District 37. Marina from Somers. Running against Peter Harkins. We need to take them out. District 88, Tom Fitz running against Amy Cohen. Right? Michael Blaine, District 90, running against Native Sage. Carlo Valente, running in the seat that Abernathy just lost. Who did he lose that to? Everything. There's too many candidates, I can't remember now. Gary Lipson, one plays. Max Slater, right, looking to take the reins from Governor. And Stacey Hopper out of Hastings. So, we need to get out the vote. We do need to deliver 70% of the vote this year, which this county is capable of doing in a primary, but we need to do it on November 7th for all of our candidates. November 8th, I'm sorry. I hope I'm the election commission. I hope I'm on the election on the right day. But we do need to get out the vote this year. We're capable of doing it. We've done it before. This is the year, as you've heard all day long here, why we need to do it. Many of us are debating whether or not we're going to live here after Election Day if we don't start taking our state back, our county back, our cities back. You've heard it all day long, crime, immigration, the economy, fuel. All of these are issues that have to be dealt with. If we don't deal with them this year, this country is under attack by the Democratic Party. They've wrecked this country. They're trying to. We need to save it. And it's our job to do it as party leaders and operatives in the Republican Party. So I do want to thank you for everything you're doing. Lee, do you want to say a few words, final words? One or two? Okay.
Doug, we have a candidate in 16.
We're going to take pictures.
No,
Yes.
we have a candidate in 16.
I know we do. She wants to come meet with us, so I don't have her information. I just heard about her. So, it's a boss issue, for the most part.
No.
No. 16, we're still interviewing. We're still interviewing candidates. We have an opportunity to run someone in the 16th Congressional District. There are 3 candidates looking at that. You as one of the leaders in that are dealing with that. So, we're not prepared to announce that candidate. So again, I want to thank everyone. We're going to need a group picture. I would like to call all the candidates up here for some group pictures. Everyone here running this year for Senate, Assembly, Congress, or any local races, special elections, please come up. Any elected officials?